For more on the AI and 5G on display and much more, let's bring in Sean Ding. He's co-founder and CEO of G-Risk. And Sean, I want to ask you the first but obvious question. We'll get to all of the tech in a second, but Huawei, the elephant in the room.
Sure.
How does its current tensions with the U.S. play out at something like this?
Well, I think, first of all, after the Osaka summit between President Xi and President Trump, Huawei has become a centerpiece of the China-U.S. negotiations, and the Chinese side has been very firm in asking the U.S. to soften some of the restrictions posed on Huawei. And President Trump met with many of the top U.S. technology companies just this past Monday, on the 23rd of July, talking about how to best sort of treat Huawei as both a client to these companies as well as a concern to the U.S. So I think a lot of movements have been going on, and the U.S. is willing to soften some of the restrictions, but there is still a lot that remains to be done. And this is really setting a precedence for how governments and regulators are interacting and coping with technology. You definitely don't want to push Huawei and other companies too far on the so-called sort of the balkanization of technology side of things, where each country would have their own set of technologies and they can't work together cohesively. So a lot of movements this week, and Huawei is definitely going to see a lot more coming out in the next couple of weeks after the negotiations conclude this weekend.
This conference is China's baby. How significant is it that this is for the first time being held in Guangzhou?
Well, the location of Guangzhou is very significant, very strategic indeed, because Guangzhou is a major hub of China's Greater Bay Area, and Guangzhou alone in the city is building 10,000 5G base stations just by the end of this year. So hosting this new GMIC conference there, it definitely shows that Guangzhou is going to be a pioneer in China's overall technology development.
Those 10,000 5G stations, that is a top-down approach, but bottom-up, it seems to me that the Chinese are very quick adapters of technology. We were discussing this earlier. China seems to be suggesting a role for itself in the future.
Indeed, and that's what this conference is really about. It's talking about the adaptation, the application of technology. For example, during this conference, there is a very sort of mainstream technology, which is text-to-speech. And that's been applied in many applications already on your smartphones, on your television sets. But in this conference, it's actually used to project people's transcripts of their speeches on the big screen. And that is a unique application of this already mainstream technology. So I think China is really pioneering in the adaptation and mass application of a lot of these technologies. But in terms of innovation, there is still a lot of catch-up that China needs to do.
How does this differ, what we're seeing in Guangzhou versus what we see every year in Las Vegas at CES?
Well, the CES is a sort of a event for a lot of the technology
Consumer
companies.
electronics.
Yeah, exactly. Consumer electronics show. And the name show indicates that it's a show of new gadgets and new technologies like VR, virtual reality, and augmented reality. But in China, the GMIC event, the Global Mobile Internet Conference, is more about policies, more about having industry players, academics, researchers, scientists, even artists coming together and talk about how is technology changing people's lives, how it's changing society, and how can people and society cope with technology. And I think those kind of conversations are in greater demand all over the world, not just China.
All right, Sean Ding, thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you.